Man, I miss being young. That time when all I had to worry about was homework and not crippling student loan debt, which I still haven't paid off 20 years later.
You know, back in the early 2000s, when all our worries seemed so trivial, you could focus your mind on being excited for many pieces of media that were releasing over the years. If you were a fan of Spider-Man, that would of course be Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films. Now, I've spoken pretty extensively about the hype surrounding Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 3. However, there is one film I have avoided talking about all this time. Now, Spider-Man 2 was a difficult film to find anything interesting for, so I've avoided talking about it all this time. However, maybe it's because I'm a slave to YouTube content creation, or maybe it's because some of you were clearly annoyed about me avoiding it.
We're done when I say we're done.
But I finally decided to talk about the hype surrounding Spider-Man 2 to finally close off my trilogy of videos. Nothing really happened in 2001. This was before the first film had come out after all. So by this point, the only news we had of a potential sequel was reports that Raimi and Sony had begun talks to fast-track the development of a second film. I can't say early 2002 was any better in terms of the hype for the second film. In January, we'd learned that Alfred and Miles Miller were tapped to write Spider-Man 2. Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst had signed a contract to return, as well as Sam Raimi. So we know for a fact that Spider-Man 2 was indeed happening, likely set for a 2004 release date. For a while in 2002, all we knew for sure was that the film was being written pretty actively by several different writers. However, unlike Spider-Man 1, there were little to no leaks of the script and the film story. There would be one interesting piece of news that would come out in April 2002. Kirsten Dunst, in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, would reveal the fact that the producers were looking to have Dr. Octopus as the main villain. There would also be a strange mention that Peter Parker would be fired from his part-time job by a lizard thing, revealing that the lizard would be in the film as well. Besides having an idea on who the villain was, we'd also discover that the movie was likely filming in January 2003. According to Kirsten Dunst on The Late Show, it would also be around this time, around April or May 2003, that we'd learn the name of the movie, The Amazing Spider-Man. This would be the name that would stick for a while, even being present on the movie's official IMDb page. Around May as well, Avi Arad would hint that Dr. Octopus would be the villain of the movie, so they already had an idea on what direction the story would go by this point. This would have been exciting for fans at the time, considering that in many fan-made polls at this point, Dr. Octopus ranked high for villains fans wanted to see in the sequel. There was a rumor that another villain would make an appearance in Spider-Man 2. This rumor actually came from Kirsten Dunst, who in June of 2002 would tell Wizard magazine that Black Cat would serve as Peter's new love interest in the sequel. November is when development really kicked off for Spider-Man 2 in terms of news. Filming would officially begin this month, with second unit photography taking place in New York City. But this would also be the month where we'd get even more information about Dr. Octopus in the film. Around this time, there were reports that Robert De Niro and Billy Bob Thornton were on the shortlist to play Dr. Octopus, alongside Bruce Campbell, who was rumored to play the Lizard. This rumor would be debunked by Laura Zinskin. There would also be pretty exciting news by animators from the production of Spider-Man 2. Here, they would state that they were having trouble figuring out how to animate Dr. Octopus's arms, and were still trying to work out an intricate process on how that would work. Finally, in November as well, Sam Raimi would state that he was yet to read the script, which was being written by Michael Chabon, but he would confirm that Doc Ock was indeed the villain of the movie.
He's pretty good to a certain level, but he's not.
2003 was a pretty hectic year for news, but also one that brought a lot of stress and worry for the future of the Raimi films. In early 2003, Marvel would sue Sony for $50 million and sought to have their existing contract torn away. If this were to happen, then that meant that Spider-Man 3 would likely be cancelled unless another major deal was made. This is not the only lawsuit that occurred in 2003, as another would emerge in March. A filmmaker, Ted Alfred Newsome would file a lawsuit against Sony and Columbia Pictures, stating that his Spider-Man script, which was written 18 years prior, was used as the basis for the 2002 film, and sought $31.25 million in damages for this alleged stolen script. Besides these pieces of stressful news, the coming months would be pretty tame in comparison. Elizabeth Banks would reprise her role in the film, and James Franco would speak about what his role in the film would potentially be. However, come February 2003, we'd receive our first major piece of news. Alfred Molina had been officially cast as Dr. Octopus in the film, which would serve as our first major casting of the film. We'd get even more news about Dr. Octopus in March, as effects artist Steve Johnson would state that Sam Raimi wanted Dr. Octopus's arms to be practical in the film rather than CGI. This meant that the tentacles were going to be mainly physical puppets in the film, though Steve Johnson would state that trying to operate a puppet in the movie was very difficult. What's cool is that we do have footage from around this time when the effects team were still testing out how to make the tentacles look good in the film, requiring very elaborate and intricate puppetry to make it work. However, despite the difficulty, you can tell that this really paid off in the final film. With interesting news came more stressful news in March 2003. Here, a rumor would begin circulating that perhaps Tobey Maguire would not return for the sequel. According to the rumor, there were two reasons as for why this was the case. The first rumor states that Tobey hurt his back during the filming of Seabiscuit. Another rumor would state that Tobey was using his back issues as a bargaining chip to negotiate with Columbia. This was causing trouble for the production of Spider-Man 2, and thus there was a chance that Tobey would be recast, with Jake Gyllenhaal being the popular replacement. However, Tobey's agency in Columbia would deny that any of these rumors were true, and Kirsten Dunst would have no comment about the rumors as well. Something strange would happen though shortly after this rumor released, as Sony would move Spider-Man 2's release date from May 2004 to July 2004. It's not clear why this move happened, but according to Sony, it had nothing to do with Tobey Maguire's supposed back issues. Okay, so let's ignore the clearly fake rumor and go back to more exciting news, like how many people thought that Lindsay Lohan was cast in Spider-Man 2, as for some reason her profile was added onto the film's IMDb page, and the page would state that she was playing a character named Melissa Carter. Because of this supposed casting, many people kept an eye on her website, where she'd post journal updates about her life from time to time. Another casting rumor would come around this time as well, which stated that Jerry O'Connell would play a new love interest for MJ in the movie. This news was cool and all, but there was still a question if the Tobey Maguire recast news was true. Sure, it seemed fake, but there was something that felt legitimate about the news. In fact, the news would be confirmed to be real only a month after the rumor dropped. In early April 2003, there would be a report from Variety stating that Columbia Pictures grew uneasy with Tobey Maguire's behavior during the film's pre-production, as they believed he was using his back problems as a bargaining chip to demand things from them, concerned that his attitude and health would derail the entire film. The studio decided to replace him with Jake Gyllenhaal, who was a rising star at the time. With Maguire's role on the line, his agents and the COO of Vivendi Universal, who was the father of Tobey Maguire's girlfriend, stepped in to ensure that Tobey could maintain his role. Besides this awkward drama, it was not until April of 2003 that official set photos began releasing from the set of the movie. We of course got our first official photo of Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker in the film, but also a picture of Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus. These photos were great, but they did not really tell us much in terms of what to expect. However, we'd also discover around this time that actor Dylan Baker was cast as Kurt Connors in the movie, which took many people by surprise, especially since the casting announcement would be followed up by set photos of him on set. We'd also get news from Avi Arad around this time as well, as he would state in an interview with Ain't It Cool News that the script for Spider-Man 2 was much better than the first. However, he'd also describe a comedic moment from the filming of the movie where Alfred Molina would start singing a song called If I Were a Rich Man, with his tentacles joining in. Luckily, this supposed moment was documented on video and posted shortly after the movie's release.
If I were a wealthy man, oi!
In May 2003, Tobey Maguire would come forward and admit that he was indeed fired from Spider-Man 2 after using his back problems in negotiations. It's from here on out where very exciting things began happening for Spider-Man 2 if you were keeping up with the news. First of all, in late May, a Daily Bugle newspaper prop would appear on an eBay listing, likely taken from the set of the movie. The listing would be taken down pretty quickly before it officially sold on the website. A couple days later, after the listing was deleted, we'd get a hint at official promotional material from the movie. According to Ain't It Cool News, one of their readers attended a focus group about Spider-Man 2. And here, they'd be presented various titles for the movie, but also some posters as well. First of all, we'd learn that The Amazing Spider-Man was not the actual title for the movie, but simply a placeholder. In fact, the titles they were thinking of going for were Spider-Man 2 Lives, Spider-Man No More, and Spider-Man Unmasked. Now, these titles were interesting because it did hint on what the story of the film would be, some kind of narrative involving Peter's identity either getting exposed or him giving up on his heroism. Some posters were shown to participants as well, such as a close-up of Spider-Man with MJ and Dr. Octopus in the reflection of his lenses, and another poster which was a close-up of Spider-Man and Peter's face with the words 2 Lives at the bottom. Many fans had their own various opinions about these supposed titles, but there was one thing everyone agreed on: a majority of these proposed titles were terrible, and it made more sense to either call the film Spider-Man 2 or The Amazing Spider-Man. We would get a glimpse at a Spider-Man poster shortly after. Dark Horizons would get one of the first photos of a Spider-Man 2 poster. The image was not the best quality, but it was the closest we'd get for any material in the movie. Shortly after this, there would also be set photos that would release from outdoor filming, featuring a stunt double wearing a Spider-Man costume and swinging away. Luckily, we'd also get a set video that was posted from this same day. So by June 2003, it became clear that we still knew very little about Spider-Man, just little hints we could discern through very little promotion for the movie. Finally, by July of 2003, we'd get official material from the movie, specifically revolving around the new villain Dr. Octopus. Not only were his tentacles present at the Comic-Con show floor for fans to see up close, but an official poster of Dr. Octopus would be showcased as well, giving us our first look at the character within the film. At Comic-Con as well, Laura Zinskin, Avi Arad, and Alfred Molina would attend the Spider-Man 2 booth, giving details about the character and the overall vision for Spider-Man 2. There was a higher quality version of the previous poster that would release this month as well, taken at the SIGGRAPH convention at the Sony ImageWorks booth. By this point, tension was mounting regarding when the official trailer for Spider-Man 2 would release. The movie had been filming for nearly a year at this point, but all we had seen officially was posters and vague descriptions of the story. Luckily, by August, sources from Superhero Hype would state that the first trailer for Spider-Man 2 would either drop in November or December. This report would be proven to be true only 2 months later, as on October 16th of 2003, a writer for Ain't It Cool News attended a presentation for Marvel Enterprise Inc. in Tokyo, Japan, and here Avi Arad showcased an early version of the Spider-Man 2 teaser trailer. The writer would quickly send an email to Ain't It Cool News where they would describe the trailer in great detail. Supposedly, the trailer started with Peter and MJ in a cafe as a car is thrown through the window, and from then on, the trailer featured many quick and frantic shots showcasing various key moments from the film. Anyways, another poster would release for the film this month as well, and we'd continue to get news about when the first official trailer would drop, with Sony officially announcing on December 12th that the trailer would drop on December 15th via Yahoo Videos. Finally, on December 15th, the trailer would drop on Yahoo Video through a special video player that would showcase the poster that was shown 2 months prior. Yahoo was not the only site hosting the trailer, as it would also be present on Apple's official website, which allowed you to download the trailer and watch it in various formats. The trailer, from what we could see, matched exactly with how Ain't It Cool News described it a few months prior, giving viewers their very first glimpse at the movie, its story, characters, Doc Ock, and the unique and exciting action sequences. 2004 would mark the official release year for Spider-Man 2, meaning that this was the time where marketing would really go into overdrive. For many of you older folk, this was the period in time you most likely remembered, especially if you weren't keeping up with news from the movie. Not only were there more trailers shown this year, but several commercials were being shown pretty heavily around this time as well, and I don't doubt that some of you have likely seen them from time to time. Anyways, check out my videos on the previous Spider-Man films, and I'll see you guys next time.